Okay, so let's just go with the decision making thing. So okay, so the force of physics, we're moving around, we don't really make decisions, and there's a problem with that because if I tell you don't make decisions, it's like
It brings up all of free will, determination,
yeah, right. So
determinism.
yeah, you need some sort of free will, right?
Yeah.
So okay, there's a solution to it, and it has to do with like the analogy I use is you're like we work out, right? We go to the gym and we build our strength, our physical strength.
So
there's
some more than others.
yeah, whatever. Yeah. That's like the physical thing, but like there's this other thing you can work out is your mind and your brain, and by doing that you end up making different decisions. And it's not by saying I'm making a decision or by making a decision. It's by flexing this like working out your mind. And it has to do with consciousness. Okay, so what's consciousness in your mind? Like, what do you think consciousness is? Like, how would you define it? Like,
it's a tough one. I mean, we go back to that argument over
feeling alive.
Yeah, consciousness and sentience.
Knowing you're alive, having intelligence.
Think, therefore I am.
Yeah.
Is this? Where do beings become sentient? Where do they have self-awareness above a purely reactionary biological system?
Anyways, so yeah, there's these kind of concepts about consciousness, but there's nothing really that I've seen that I like. So I've got my own, and so let's think about the brain as like let's say there's like a million processes going on in the brain, and all of these represent patterns because that's what the brain is doing. It's constantly interacting with this abstract space, and they're happening unconsciously.
Okay.
And it's making you breathe, making involuntary movement reactions and involuntary ones. And anyway, so the brain has got tons of stuff going on, and you're not aware of any of it, really. So what's consciousness? Is this that your brain is doing these million things at once, and all of these things can be represented as, let's say, a record. Let's say it's looping. Like, let's say each of these thoughts, each of these processes, each of these things is a circle and it's spinning. And you have all of these spinning circles. And your consciousness is like a needle that can play these circles, these records at any time. So your present moment, the thoughts that go through is where this needle is located within this mass of spinning things. So it's like
we can only even access a few of those.
That's the thing, is that's the key, is your ability. How many are accessing at the same time? Mm-hmm. Do you want to access many at the same time? Are you trying to just access one? Are you trying to...
Which is where the training comes in.
That's where the training comes in, right? So consciousness is that needle, and it is an output of these records that are spinning. And our ability to move around this needle is not just, it can't just necessarily play one record, it could play many records at the same time.
Yeah.
And it can actually maybe play multiple tracks on the record if the needle's very thick. And that's the problem, is that if you're not trained, this needle, it's like it's all over the place.
Jumping around.
It's jumping around. Like, so our minds, when we're just sitting there wasting time thinking about things that don't matter, that emotionally affect us, it's a lack of training of our consciousness.
The needle just jumping around by itself.
The needle's jumping around. Yeah. It's cutting into multiple records at the same time. The music that's coming out is not good.
Yeah. There's no harmony.
There's no harmony. Yeah. So and then that's what we can do. Like, and it can only be done now. It's in the present. Like, we have no effect on the past or the future. We can only develop an ability to focus that needle. And it has to do with focus. You know, some people are more focused than others. Some people are naturally good at tuning this needle.
Right, right.
You know, some people, it generally jumps around and it's good for them too. But at the end of the day, your ability to control that needle is what will lay out a series of what looks like good decisions.
Okay.
Right? Like your decision making patterns will change over time with your ability to manipulate that needle. And the way to manipulate that needle is through meditation and controlling thought. Like being in the present and knowing, you know, are you thinking about the right thing? Like that's what I've been doing recently is like when I go off track in my head, I'm like, okay, wait a second. I need to retune it. It's only in the present. That's all I can do. I can just retune.
Yeah. You don't know
my
what you're going to
thought.
think about tomorrow, you know, and you can't change what you thought about yesterday, but you can change what you're thinking about now.
Our ability to add more spinning records within our heads is education. So education gives you more records.
Yeah.
So without education, you don't have the records.
No.
Because and the records are just relationships. That's all they are. That record that's playing in your head is not just yours. Like it's all records.
It's a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of circles built by a whole bunch of relationships in the abstract space.
In the abstract space.
Yeah.
And you get to tune into it. And the consciousness is tuning in and it's feeding into it.
How do we decide what's a good record, what's a bad record? Like what we should try to tune into and what we should try and tune out?
It's symmetry. Like the relationships are symmetrical, the ones that are going to last. If you're tuning into something that's not symmetrical, that doesn't make sense, that doesn't work with a lot of other of the records around it, it's like
So like
it's
harmony
going
and
to
balance.
it's just going to disappear and you're just wasting your time on it because you can't sustain it on your own. You're like, you know, thought is not just individual, like it's collective. So these records are sustained by everybody, and if you're spending time on one that is not being sustained by a lot of people, you're going to waste your time putting energy into it.